Welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, Pat explains to James what she calls the hard-easy effect. It can be hard to start or continue with a creative project because you think it's going to be harder than it actually will be, and it can be easy to underestimate how long it's going to take to complete the project. Join us as we figure this one out. Hey, James.
Yes, Pat.
Let me ask you a question.
Certainly.
When you...
hold on a second. Let me put the tools down. Okay.
Okay. When you go to work on a creative project, what's your process? What's your steps that you go through in like a sentence or two?
And which kind of, for a client you mean, or just personal? Oh, personal.
I mean personal.
The idea hits and I sit down and write the first sentence.
Okay, so the idea hits and immediately you get up from your desk, even if you're working, and you go to where? Do you stay at the same desk?
Wherever I can be, all kinds of places.
Okay.
And, if I have access to pen and paper, I write it down and put it in my pocket, usually because for whatever reason, it happens while I'm reading at night.
Okay.
And I will write the idea in an email and what the opening sentence or whatever the sentence is, and email it to myself.
Okay, that's very efficient. So there's this thing I've been understanding because I'm working on the Frankenstein novel, and I've been understanding about my own process, and I'm calling it the hard easy effect. And what this effect is that I think it's going to be harder to carve out enough time to make meaningful progress on the project, because novels are long, it's 10,000 sentences, 8 to 10,000. So it takes me, sometimes I have to fight this idea that, oh, you know what? I'd love to work on that, but I've got 10 hours worth of paid work to do today. So I probably won't be able to do it today. I'll wait until I can sit down and do it, with my mind sort of focused on the project. So that's the hard part. I overestimate how hard it's going to be to get going on something. Because I lack the time, or because, I have other shit to do, or even sometimes because I think mentally I need to be in a certain space to work on a particular thing. That's the hard part. That is, I overestimate how hard it's going to be. The easy part is I think it's going to be easier to finish the project than it actually will be. So I underestimate how long it's going to take to create the thing, the full thing.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about a novel, let's call it 9,000 sentences, just for fun. The 9,000 sentences in a novel that you get from the store or from the library, they're polished. They make sense. They go together. They create a story. They are consistently, effective. That's not what you start with when you draft anything. You start with a hodgepodge of ideas and situations. You might have some great sentences that you keep all the way through the process of writing a novel, but it's pretty rare that I think that your first draft is your published draft, unless you're, unless you're careless, basically. You want it to be as good as you can. Get it. So I have this thing I call the hard easy effect, and I think mentally I want to switch that in my mind, so that I accurately know that I consider it easier to do a little bit of work on the project. It's not hard to get into it. I don't overestimate how hard it's going to be to get going. I just think it's going to be easy to get going. And then I want to not underestimate how long it's going to take, because then I get delusional, right? Even with my Palermo getaway, I'm supposed to be working on the second draft at that point, which means I got to finish the first draft before Christmas. Yeah, I have a lot of words written. Yeah, I have an idea. I have a much better development of the idea, but I think I'm underestimating a little bit just how much time I need to spend on the novel at this point in order to be where I want to be by Christmas. So what do you think? Does that ever happen to you?
Yes, and yes. So, the first sentence is the easy part. You know what I mean? That's the idea. That's just like, I have an idea. I have a sentence. I'm going to send it to myself.
Yeah.
And then, but then I think, okay, now I've got to write this story.
Yeah.
And, so it's not a novel, but it's 5,000 words,
Mm-hmm.
say sometimes 2,000 to 5,000, 6,000 at the outside. And then you think about everything that's got to happen to I want to be able to really be involved and engrossed in it.
Yeah.
And so then, yeah, you just start thinking of all these things that make it feel like this gigantic task.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go out and you read all these books on writing and creativity, and it's like, well, just, do one sentence.
Yeah.
500 words a day after 10 days are 5,000 words, all this kind of stuff. And so I love that you said, let's flip the perspective
Yeah.
on the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the easy, where you underestimate the amount of time it's going to take, yeah, flip the script again to be more realistic about your time frame. Because my initial reaction for you so we're at mid-October right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how much you have written, and I don't know how much more you have to go,
Mm-hmm.
but it just feels like, even if you've got, you know 20,000 words to go, it still feels tight, because you've got paid work, you've got holidays, you've got the things that are going to pop up that you don't yet know about.
Yeah.
You've got all of these things. So it's really hard it's easy to be optimistic on that time budget.
Uh-huh.
And it's harder to be really realistic, because the other part of it too is you're trying to trick your brain into saying, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Keep pushing, keep pushing.
Yeah.
Right. And so you want to have that, you want to maintain that optimism. You don't want to feel like, oh no, it's going to take longer than I want it to.
Yeah. Well,
If
I figure I've got 8 weeks and I still have about 60,000 words to go, which for me, I can do 8,000 words in a day when I write the 3-day novel, but it's a different feeling because I'm totally engrossed in this one thing. My mind is feeding on
Yeah.
itself. My subconscious is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Trying to fit it in around the other shit is the part that when I think, oh, it's going to be hard to get started,
Mhm.
that's the part that, I'm informed by my own past experience. It is hard for me to focus on something creative that doesn't have any money attached to it when I'm working a lot. And with all the elder caregiving this year, again, my income is lower, like it was last year. Um,
Yeah.
Lower than I want it to be. So, yeah, I think I am, though. I am still going to be delusional about it. But the thing that's really helping me is just putting aside blocks of time. And right now it's about 5 hours a week, the blocks of time. They're spread out over 7 days.
Mhm.
But it seems to be helping, you know?
Yeah. So one thing that I would say is, I've heard you talk about your idea for this Frankenstein novel, and I think
Mhm.
it's really, really, really good.
Thank
Right.
you.
But I also think to really execute on it and develop it to its fullest, it needs time, and you're going to need time to let things breathe and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So there's a certain piece of this that's, you got to do good service for the idea, right? You
Yeah.
got to serve the idea.
Yeah.
And not that you're not, I'm not trying to
No, I
infer.
am. It's probably 4 of the 5 hours is just me thinking about the idea, not actually
Yeah.
writing any words.
Yeah.
My experience with novels is that you don't get better
Mhm.
if you just wait until you feel like you're
Yeah.
ready. It's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you can.
I wouldn't ever say wait or not
Mhm.
write. Just that to get the sentences and the structure, generally speaking,
Mhm.
I do this too, right?
Yeah.
If even if I'm writing for somebody else or for myself, I always have to, when I get close and I feel it,
Yeah.
energy that takes over.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah, no, it's a great
sometimes that
feeling.
energy doesn't serve the idea, you
Right.
know. Sometimes it does. A lot of times it does. It's sort of a mixed bag. But, I think the other thing is that hard part is about the overwhelm and how to navigate the overwhelm and defang it so that it
Yeah.
feels like, no, this is something I just got to sit down and do, and I want to do it.
Yeah, I think the overwhelm doesn't really hit me with the novel because it's so optional. Nobody gives a shit if I write that book,
Mhm.
honestly. I get a little overwhelmed with deadlines for paid work sometimes because I'm doing a lot of shit, but I'm so used to working to deadline. It's nuts. I've been doing it my entire working life, basically. So, it's just part of being able to manage projects and stress. That's just ingrained now. I had so many tools that I developed in the conference industry that I still apply to running a small business and being a writer.
Yeah. For me, it's the restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I mean, yeah.
It translates. Mitigating, defanging the overwhelm before you start is
if you're feeling overwhelmed, learn how to defang it. Yeah.
And I think and then the other on the
easy
is really being realistic with yourself.
Yeah.
Without slowing yourself down. You don't want to lose momentum, but sort of say, okay, maybe if I have like a, I don't know, and I'm speaking hypothetically, not for because I don't know any, the details of what's going on with what you're writing, but if I'm trying to do 1,000 words a day and really push myself, maybe that's too much. You need to back off and do 500 so that you can be more thoughtful about that 500.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm still doing mind maps and shit. I'm not by no means am I churning out words at this point. But that's something I had to train myself not to do as well. So yeah. So the 10,000 words, I've been working on this novel for a while, and that's just what I've got so far. And then I took a big step back and worked a bunch on character and plot. And so I still think I can do it. But I wanted to talk about the hard, easy effect because I think it's, you're never alone when you're having an issue. And that's the issue that's come to my mind is with the creative process is that you can talk yourself into finding things too hard to start. And you can talk yourself into being delusional about how long you think they're going to take. And then before you know it, another year's gone by and you haven't painted that painting or written that book or, published that book you wrote if you're self-publishing. So I like your idea of defanging overwhelm and being really realistic about how long things are going to take without losing momentum.
Yeah. Awesome. And then that, I think, helps you focus on your capacity.
Yes.
And how do I build in capacity?
Right.
So.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks so much for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Hope you have a great creative week.